Do you have that special someone in your life who hasn't been indoctrinated into the world of JRPGs? That poor soul just walking around completely unaware that there's a game out there waiting to ruin their free time forever? Well, here's your chance to be the perfect enabler. You can send that special person spiraling down the never-ending hole of incredible narratives, wondering how they are even going to dig themselves out of that backlog. But to do that, you need the perfect games to begin your journey with. Wait, you can't narrow it down with how many amazing games are out there? Well, fear not, because today, I'm here to help. Hey everyone, welcome back to Dollar Games. Today I'm counting down the 10 JRPGs I'd recommend to someone new to the genre. Now, before anyone gets mad in the comments, this is not me saying these are the 10 best JRPGs ever made. This is me saying these are the games I think do a good job of welcoming somebody in without making them completely overwhelmed or run away from the genre. So for this list, I'm looking into the games that are easier to get into, games that kind of just hook you in fast, and then also do a really good job of showing people why JRPGs are kind of the best. Also, I just want to say thank you for being here and spending time with me today. Whether you've been watching for a while or this is your first time checking out the channel, I really appreciate you clicking on the video. If you end up enjoying this kind of content, think about subscribing. I'm making my way towards 2,000 subscribers, and having you along for that would be just the best. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. Visions of Mana is actually a more recent game for me because I didn't play it when it initially released back in 2024, which is a little embarrassing because I'm a huge fan of the Mana series and have been waiting years for a new entry since the last one was Legend of Mana. So there definitely was not another one that came out on the PS2. And if you remember differently, I'm gonna need you to forget about that immediately.
No, you won't.
So yes, with great shame, this was not a day one dollar game. Instead, it got pushed aside by whatever other game I was busy with at the time. Who knows what past Dollar was doing, he's pretty crazy. But fast forward to late last year when Emily, who co-hosts the JRPG Pursuit podcast with me and runs her own channel, Orbrology, gave me the shame I very much deserve. I finally sat down and played it, and man, did I regret not playing it sooner. That game is incredibly charming, beautiful, and filled with all the things we love about Mana. Like a lot of Mana games, this one deals with a Mana crisis, but this time you play as Val, a soul guard protecting an alm on the pilgrimage to the Mana Tree, where they are expected to give up their life for the sake of the world KDL. Now, the people of this world treats the ritual like an honor, and entire communities celebrate those chosen for it, which gives this story a darker edge beneath its colorful presentation. As Val travels with his friend Hina and the other alms across the elemental regions, the journey starts to feel less like following tradition and more like questioning whether it should continue. And that is a big part of why this game would really pull new players into it. Visions of Mana backs that up in how it's designed. It nails that storybook look the series has been known for, but with enough detail and scale to feel current without losing its identity. Now, the environments feel diverse and beautiful, and I definitely caught myself slowing down to take in the scenery on multiple occasions. On top of that, the combat is fast, fun, and has the right amount of variety across the different characters you can choose. Between that and the multiple builds you can mess around with, depending on how you customize your skill tree and the equipment, makes it a very easy game for me to recommend and a must-play for beginners. X Proud Nordics is the kind of game that reminds me why I'm such a massive Falcom fan in the first place, and honestly, why this is such an easy game for me to recommend. From the second you get dropped into the Abilia Gulf, it has this strong sense of adventure that makes it hard to put down. You're constantly moving between open water and island towns, and the setting does the game wonders when it comes to the beautiful locations and vibrant colors. I wasn't joking in my review when I compared parts of it to Wind Waker. It's not cel shaded, but it has this colorful anime look that makes the world a place you actually want to explore, which is a huge part of why I'd point people towards it. Story-wise, I think it's incredible. Adal is out there doing what Adal does best, traveling by boat, looking for adventure, and somehow adventure always seems to find him. pretty quickly you get introduced to the Normans, who are basically this game's version of the Vikings, and Adal crosses paths with his best girl, Karja. After an incident, the two end up stuck together, which of course leads to some hilarious moments. While trying to separate, a bigger threat starts looming in the Greiger, these mysterious creatures that can only be destroyed through mana, which Adal and Karja have, thankfully. Also, I loved Karja and Adal's dynamic. You see, Karja is much more rigid in personality, while Adal keeps rolling with the punches, and watching her react every time he makes a decision because something sounds like it's fun is just great. That dynamic gives the story a lot of personality, and it's another reason I'd recommend it. And when you combine all of that with the gameplay, it comes together in a way that is incredibly addictive. The combat is fast-paced like you'd expect from Ys, and built around Adal and Karja. In solo mode, you can switch between them and use their strengths. I ended up using Karja to break bosses, then switching to Adal to unload damage. In duo mode, you control them together and get combined attacks that can get pretty broken once you start upgrading them. Between that and the ship battles, I was never lacking for fun to do. If you have never played Ys before, this is a very easy one for me to recommend. Tales of is a series that gets talked about a lot, especially these days since Bandai Namco has been doing a great job bringing these games back with its Remaster project. It might be hard to pick just one to put on this list, and I'm sure if you ask 10 different people, you'll get 10 different answers on which one is the best to start with. But for me, it's going to have to be Tales of Berseria. Originally released on the PS3 and PS4, this last February we got a remastered version that finally brought it to the Switch as well as the rest of the modern platforms. So let's get into why I'm choosing Tales of Berseria. Well, I'm choosing it because it's one of my favorites. There you go. That's the video, and I'm done. Actually, I'm not done. I'm sorry. I'll keep going. Anyways, like I was saying, this game does something many of the other games in the series does not. It puts you in the shoes of a character who falls into this morally gray area, and you know what? It's completely justified. This game follows Velvet Crow, a young woman whose life is shattered by a brutal tragedy that leaves her driven by anger and the need for revenge. What starts as this very personal revenge story slowly opens up into something much bigger, pulling her into conflicts revolving around religion and the way this world tries to control people. Along the way, Velvet gathers a party of very interesting misfits who all have their own baggage and motives, so the story constantly has a sense of tension behind the scenes. The tone is darker than a lot of Tales games, but it still has that humor and strong character moments the series is known for. Between that and the fun combo-based action combat, this game is a perfect introduction to the world of JRPGs, so do yourself a favor and pick it up. So after all these years, I'm finally obsessed with the Yakuza series. I recently beat Yakuza 0 on stream, and I'm currently playing Yakuza Kiwami weekly on stream too. So if you haven't checked those out, stop by sometime or check out the playlists on my channel. I really can't stress enough how much I regret not playing those games any sooner. But this is not about starting the Yakuza series at the beginning. I'm here to tell you to start from the 7th game, Like a Dragon. You see, Yakuza was always known as this JRPG adjacent beat 'em up, but back in 2019, RGG pulled an April Fool's joke and showed what Yakuza would look like if it was turn-based. Then, fast forward to 2020, and it turned out that joke was real. They actually took this long-running beat-em-up series and turned it into an incredible turn-based experience. This time, instead of following Kiryu, the story centers on Ichiban Kasuga, a low-ranking Yakuza who takes the fall for a crime, serves 18 years in prison, and gets out expecting his old life will still be there waiting for him. Instead, everything has changed. And what follows is a mix of personal betrayal, rebuilding your life from nothing, and slowly gathering a party of absolute weirdos around you. Somehow, and through all of that, it becomes one of the most heartfelt and genuinely fun JRPG stories out there. So yeah, this is still a typical Yakuza game. You get all the staples with a dark, compelling main story balanced out by the sheer ridiculousness of the side quests and minigames. But now you also have this main character who is obsessed with Dragon Quest and imagines every fight he gets into as a turn-based battle. It's incredible. It's also hilarious, so you all know what to do. Go play this game. For the longest time, Dragon Quest has always been a series that felt way more popular in Japan than it did here in the US. But in recent years, we've really started to see that change, especially with the remakes of 1, 2, and 3 getting more attention. Still, if we're being honest, a lot of that momentum really kicked into gear when Dragon Quest XI came out over here. Dragon Quest XI and then later the definitive version really took the genre by storm. It pushed the series way higher up on people's lists of favorite JRPGs, and now it feels like you can't watch a video or read an article about the best JRPGs without seeing it pop up somewhere. So, of course, I'm gonna talk about it here, because if I didn't, I can already picture my comment section exploding with anger. Actually, that might still happen anyway.
No.
And honestly, it deserves the attention. Dragon Quest XI just feels like the purest version of what people love about JRPGs. The story follows the Luminary, a young man who sets out after learning the truth about who he is, only to find out that the journey ahead is a lot bigger and a lot more complicated than he expected. As much as you think he would expect, since he is a silent protagonist and you don't get much input from him, but from there, it turns into this huge adventure with a fantastic cast and that classic sense of adventure you would expect from a Dragon Quest game. The game itself is also just incredibly easy to recommend. The combat is traditional turn-based, but polished in a way that makes it easy for anyone to just jump into. And the whole experience has this nostalgic charm to it that makes it hard not to get pulled in. It truly is a game that reminds you of why JRPGs are beloved to begin with. Because of that, Dragon Quest XI is one of the easiest JRPGs to recommend to someone new to the genre. If someone asked me for one game that shows why this genre has lasted this long, Dragon Quest XI would absolutely be on that list. Or on this list. Because I'm telling you about it. So, pick it up. The easiest way to pull someone into a new genre is to show them something they already know. That happened with a lot of kids I knew growing up when they first experienced Super Mario RPG. Growing up in the 90s, pretty much all of us had played some kind of Mario game at some point, whether it was one of the usual platformers or that one very specific game where Mario was wandering around a hotel trying to find Princess Peach.
Too many toasters. You know what they say, all toasters toast toast.
All toasters toast toast.
Yeah, we don't really talk about that one. What made Super Mario RPG such a smart move is that it took one of Nintendo's most recognizable characters and paired him with Square, or Square Enix as they are called now, a company that already knew how to make great RPGs. So instead of trying to throw someone into a completely unfamiliar world, it gave them Mario, Bowser, Peach, and a bunch of familiar faces while introducing turn-based combat and all the usual RPG stuff. The story is also simple, where Mario teams up with new allies like Mallow and Geno after the Smithy gang crashes into the Mushroom Kingdom and then scatters the pieces of the Star Road. And from there, it turns into this fun little adventure that is perfect for someone beginning with JRPGs. And that is exactly why it's such an easy game to recommend. It has this familiar Mario charm, but it also gives someone a really clean introduction to what makes JRPGs fun. The battles are simple to understand and the timed hits keep things active. If I'm trying to get someone into JRPGs for the first time, this is one of the easiest recommendations I could make. I can't believe the original version of this game came out in 2016. That was a freaking decade ago. Where did the time go?
We are so old.
Now, for this video, I'm choosing the definitive version of this game called Persona 5 Royale, which we didn't see until 2020. Now that game, it added a new character, confidant, and a whole extra semester to the calendar system, which is a lot of extra content. But I was a bit hesitant to add it to this list, and I know, I can see you all picking up your pitchforks now, but this game is massive. There is a lot happening and a ton of calendar micromanaging, which at first had me against throwing it on this list. But then I got to thinking, most people aren't as crazy as me and have to micromanage everything in a game. Some people just want to experience what the game has to offer in terms of a great story, incredible soundtrack, and some of the slickest UI you've ever seen. So yeah, I had to put it on the list. Now the story follows Joker, a high school student who gets sent to Tokyo and ends up getting pulled into the metaverse. And no, not that metaverse. A supernatural world tied to the distorted desires of corrupt adults. From there, he joins the Phantom Thieves, a group of teenagers who fight back by stealing the hearts of people abusing their power. That setup alone is great, but what really makes Persona 5 Royale work is how it balances that larger story with your everyday life. One minute you're exploring dungeons and fusing personas, and the next you're building relationships, going to school, or trying to decide how to spend your limited free time. It gives the game a really strong rhythm, and paired with the soundtrack, presentation, and the turn-based combat, it becomes one of the most stylish JRPGs out there. And honestly, that's why I still think it belongs on a list like this. Yes, I know it's a huge game, and yes, there are a lot to keep up with, but it also does a great job easing people into what makes it special. The story hooks you in quickly, and the characters are memorable, and the game constantly keeps you guessing at what will happen next. So if someone is new to JRPGs and wants something with style, personality, and a lot to dig into, Persona 5 Royale is a very long but perfect recommendation. No JRPG list feels complete without at least one Final Fantasy game on it, and honestly, this was not an easy choice. There are so many great games to pull from, especially now with all the remasters out there, but in the end, I went with Final Fantasy X Remaster. To me, this is the most modern looking Final Fantasy that still holds on to that classic charm people loved from the earlier entries of the series. And please, do not get hung up on the internet discourse around Tidus's laugh in that one famous scene. Hear me out. That whole moment is supposed to be awkward. They are dealing with something incredibly heavy, and Tidus is trying to break the mood with this forced, ridiculous laugh to cheer up Yuna. It makes sense in context, even if the internet has been bullying that scene for years. Discourse aside, the story follows Tidus after he gets thrown into Spira and ends up joining Yuna on her pilgrimage, a journey tied directly to sin and the larger crisis hanging over the world. What makes Final Fantasy X such an incredible experience is how naturally it brings you into that setting. Spira is shaped by temples, summoners, rituals, and the constant fear of sin, and the game does a great job letting you learn about all of that through Tidus as he tries to make sense of where he is and what Yuna is walking towards. On the gameplay side, the combat is fully turn-based and easy to pick up, with the turn order always visible and party roles introduced in a very direct way where each character has their distinct job in the party. That ensures battles stay simple to follow while still feeling strategic. Add in the sphere grid, which gives character growth a nice sense of structure without making things feel messy early on, and it becomes one of the easiest Final Fantasy games to recommend to someone new to JRPGs. Harvestella does not get the love it deserves, and if you do not believe me, go ask my boy Brandon from Just the Gems, because he will not shut up about how amazing this game is, and in this case, he is completely right. Because unfortunately, this game just did not do well as many of Square Enix's other recent releases. Honestly, this game would have been way more popular if Square Enix had introduced it in the right way. Instead, they kind of set it up to fail. It was first revealed in a Nintendo Direct back in 2022 as a game that mixed farming sim elements with action RPG mechanics, but they leaned way too hard on the farming sim side, and that was a terrible idea, especially because that same Direct had around 5 other farming sims announced, so Harvestella immediately got lumped in with all of them instead of standing out for what actually made it interesting, which is wild because all they really needed to focus on was how strong the narrative is and how good the music is at supporting it. Because once you actually sit down and play Harvestella, it becomes very clear that this game has way more going on than just planting crops. The story starts with your character waking up during Quietus, this deadly season that is supposed to bring everything to a halt. And from there, it turns into a much bigger mystery involving the Sea's Light and the changing of the seasons and a girl named Arya who ends up becoming a huge part of the story. It has that very Square Enix style of slowly pulling you deeper into its world, and the further you get, the more it starts to feel like a proper narrative-driven RPG that just happens to let you farm on the side. And on the gameplay side, that balance really works well. You can build up your farm, cook, gather materials, and make money, but then you can head out into the dungeons, swap jobs, fight in real time, and build out your party. And that is exactly why I recommend it. If someone goes into Harvestella expecting just another farming sim, they are missing the point. There is a story-heavy action RPG with some life sim elements, and once you look at it that way, it stands out a lot more. If you want a game with a great soundtrack, a strong narrative, and gameplay that gives you a little more variety than your usual RPG loop, Harvestella is a really easy one to recommend. Number 1 on this list, and one of my favorite JRPGs of all time, is Trails in the Sky First Chapter Remake. At least until second chapter comes out, but that obviously would not end up on a list like this since it is the second game in the trilogy. And trust me when I say, once you finish this game, you are going to want to jump straight into second chapter immediately. So in that sense, this is kind of the perfect gateway drug into the genre, while also starting people off with one of the strongest stories JRPGs have to offer. The Trails series has been around since the PSP era, and now we are 13 games deep, which is amazing, but also makes it pretty intimidating for anyone looking to get into it. The original Trails in the Sky is an amazing game, so when Falcom announced this remake, it felt like the exact answer people have been asking for. It gave longtime fans a chance to revisit this game in a much more modern presentation, and it finally gave us the easiest recommendation possible when someone asks where to start with Trails. And that matters because this game is such a strong entry point on its own. The story follows Estelle and Joshua as they begin their journey as junior bracers, taking on jobs across the kingdom of Liberl while slowly getting pulled into a much bigger story. That does make the game more of a slow burn, but that pace is also a huge part of why it works. It gives you time to really get to know the main characters, learn the world, and grow attached to the people you meet along the way. On the gameplay side, the remake is a blend of action and turn-based combat, much like the newest entries in the series. With action combat, you can fight your way through dungeons and trails, pun intended, and then shift into turn-based mode when you need a bit more strategy. Once you're in that turn-based mode, positioning matters, and the mix of crafts, arts, and character customization gives you plenty of room to shape your party. And that is why I would recommend this so easily. If someone wants a JRPG with a strong story, a great world, and an easy way into one of the best long-running series out there, Trails in the Sky First Chapter Remake is the answer. So those are my picks for the best JRPGs to recommend to someone new to the genre. Obviously, there are a ton of other games I could have put on this list, and honestly, the right first JRPG really depends on the person. Some people are going to want something a bit more action-based, while others are going to want turn-based combat. Also, retro versus modern could be a big factor as well. This list focused on modern JRPGs, but if you want to hear my picks for retro JRPGs I'd recommend to beginners, let me know in the comments. If you're already a JRPG fan, let me know what game you would recommend, and if you're new to the genre, tell me which one on this list looks the most interesting to you. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching, and I'll check you out on the next one. Take care, everybody.